Were allowed to take, everybody was allowed to take 50 kilos of personal belongings. They gave us the time to pack up 50 kilos of personal belongings. They gave you a ticket with a number and your destination on it. Early in the morning, they called numbers, and about 1,000 people in this big hall left for the trains that were waiting at the station, not in the station, not in Amsterdam, just outside of the station, so that the people who worked in the station would never know what was happening after I do not know how many hours at the train stopped. And we opened up, and it was this very big compound with these huge towers with lights and barbed wire, and the Germans screaming. The Germans always had this tremendous noise, and then at the same time they play this awful, very raucous, patriotic German music. It was like an absolutely amazing thing that was going on there. These frightened people, this awful music, the marching, the polished boots, it was chaos. My mother and I were not separated. The men and the women were separated. They got up, the women got up very early in the morning to work. They had a huge pot in the corner with some kind of hot water soup that we had. I remember being very hungry. Outside of Westerbork, there was a compound where the German soldiers lived with their family, where they did their washing, where they had their gardens. And I remember vividly climbing under the barbed wire and going to the garden with my hands and digging potatoes. Vught, which was the same kind of thing, only a little bigger, a little more brutal, more German, more dark. I remember the beds. You had pieces of wood, slabs of wood that you slept on, and on the side they had barbed wire, so you really had to be very careful how you slept, how you went into bed and how you slept, and you just slept on the wood. Nobody ever spoke to you. You definitely weren't human, and you were always called an animal or a dog or something like that. You were never, ever treated like a human being. And if you were sick, well, it was just too bad. There was no help. At 4 o'clock in the morning, every morning, the wonderful Germans with their shepherds and the lights and the songs came, and it was the names, the names, the names, and it was names and you just went, because this was before, I don't think anybody had a number, everybody was a name, a name, a name. And this was every morning that went on, except on Saturday and Sunday. One day, they came, and it was middle of the night, and again, the call, and off we went to a place called Theresienstadt.